The cold, biting wind was the first thing I registered, even before the horrifying sound that tore through the pre-dawn silence. It wasn't the usual coyote yelp or the distant moan of a cow in labor. No, this was a primal shriek, a guttural roar that seemed to vibrate in my very bones, followed by the terrified bleating of my sheep. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat of pure adrenaline. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. I bolted upright in bed, fumbling for the shotgun I kept by the nightstand. My breath hitched in my throat as I heard the crashing of fences, the desperate cries of my animals, and then, a chilling growl, closer this time, accompanied by a sickening snap. My name is Alfred, and I'm a 23-year-old farmer, or at least I was. I've spent my entire life on this land, nestled deep in the Idaho wilderness. My family has farmed here for generations, raising livestock, tilling the soil, living a quiet life dictated by the seasons. We've dealt with coyotes, even a bear once, but nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared me for the horror that unfolded that night. The farm was my life, my legacy, and in a matter of minutes, it felt like it was all being ripped to shreds by something unspeakable. I burst out of the farmhouse, the shotgun clutched tightly in my hands, its cold metal a small comfort against the encroaching dread. The moon, a sliver of silver in the ink-black sky, cast long, distorted shadows across the snowy landscape. The air was thick with the scent of fear and something else, something wild and acrid. As I rounded the corner of the barn, the sight that greeted me froze me to the spot. It wasn't a bear. It wasn't a wolf. It was a monstrosity. Towering over my largest ram, a creature of pure nightmare ripped at its throat. Its fur, matted and black as pitch, seemed to absorb the meager moonlight, making it a silhouette of terror against the snow. Its eyes, glowing with a malevolent, predatory intelligence, locked onto me for a split second. They were not animal eyes, they held a deep, ancient hatred. Its teeth, long and razor-sharp, dripped with blood. Its claws, like obsidian daggers, tore through flesh and bone with sickening ease. This was the black scary werewolf I had only heard about in hushed whispers around campfires, dismissed as old wives' tales. A raw, guttural scream tore from my throat, a mix of rage and utter terror. I raised the shotgun, my hands trembling uncontrollably. The creature, disturbed by my scream, let out another spine-chilling growl, a sound that promised pain and death. It dropped the ram, its head swiveling towards me with an unnatural speed. It was massive, far larger than any wolf, its limbs thick with corded muscle, its posture an unsettling hybrid of man and beast. It was hideous, a twisted parody of life, and it radiated an aura of pure, unadulterated evil. I fired. The blast echoed through the silent valley, momentarily breaking the spell of horror. The creature stumbled, a yelp of pain escaping its fanged maw. But it wasn't enough. It merely recoiled, shaking its massive head, its glowing eyes still fixed on me. Before I could reload, it launched itself forward with impossible speed. I barely had time to register its approach before I was tackled, the shotgun flying from my grasp. The impact drove the air from my lungs, and I hit the frozen ground with a jarring thud. Its immense weight pinned me, the foul stench of its breath washing over me. Its claws, not yet tearing at me, held me in place with terrifying strength. I could feel the heat radiating from its body, the bristly fur against my face. Panic, cold and absolute, seized me. This was it. This was how I died. I thrashed, struggling against its hold, but it was like fighting a mountain. Its growls reverberated through my skull, a symphony of pure hatred. I could see the glint of its teeth, hear the rasp of its breath, feel the primal desire to kill emanating from it. Then, as suddenly as it had attacked, it released me. It let out a frustrated snarl, its head turning towards the distant sound of an approaching vehicle, a neighbor, perhaps, checking on the disturbance. The creature hesitated, its predatory gaze switching between me and the sound, a flicker of something akin to caution in its eyes. With a final, chilling snarl directed at me, it turned and vanished into the shadows, a dark phantom swallowed by the night. I lay there for what felt like an eternity, gasping for air, my body aching, my mind a whirlwind of terror. The screams of my sheep had ceased, replaced by an eerie silence. When I finally dragged myself to my feet, my legs felt like jelly. My farm, my livelihood, lay in ruins. Dead livestock littered the snow-covered ground, their throats torn out, their bodies mangled. the air was thick with the metallic scent of blood. This wasn't just an animal attack, it was a massacre, a deliberate act of monstrous savagery. From that night on, my life became a waking nightmare. The fear was a constant companion, a cold knot in my stomach. I reinforced my barn, bought more powerful weapons, slept with one eye open. But the black scary werewolf returned, again and again, under the cloak of darkness, always just out of reach, a shadow of pure evil. It played with me, I realized, tormenting me, chipping away at my sanity. It never attacked me directly again, but it made its presence known, leaving behind a trail of death and destruction that was clearly meant for me. It was a personal vendetta, a game of cat and mouse where I was always the mouse. The creature would leave a single, mangled sheep on my porch, or a trail of paw prints leading directly to my bedroom window, a silent, terrifying promise of what was to come. I started seeing it in my dreams, its glowing eyes and razor teeth haunting my sleep, blurring the lines between reality and nightmare. My neighbors, though sympathetic, looked at me with a mixture of pity and fear, whispers of Alfred's lost it following me everywhere. They couldn't understand, couldn't comprehend the true horror I was facing. They saw only a young man consumed by grief and paranoia, not a victim stalked by a real-life monster. One cold, desolate night, under a sky heavy with impending snow, I made a decision. I couldn't live like this anymore. I couldn't let this creature destroy everything I held dear. I would hunt it. I would face it, alone, and end this nightmare, one way or another. I spent days tracking it, learning its habits, its hunting grounds, the subtle signs it left behind. It was a silent, grim pursuit, each step bringing me closer to the inevitable confrontation. Finally, the trail led me deep into the darkest, most desolate part of the forest, a place where the trees grew so thick that even the midday sun struggled to penetrate. The air grew colder, heavy with an oppressive silence. I knew it was here. I could feel its presence, a palpable sense of dread radiating through the dense woods. Suddenly, a twig snapped behind me. I spun around, shotgun raised, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. There it was. The black scary werewolf, emerging from the shadows, its eyes glowing with a triumphant, malevolent gleam. It wasn't hiding anymore. It had lured me here, to its lair, for its own twisted purposes. It stood there, massive and menacing, its dark fur almost invisible against the backdrop of the night, save for the terrifying glow of its eyes. I squeezed the trigger, a desperate, final act. The blast ripped through the silence, but the creature, as if anticipating my move, moved with impossible speed. It was a blur of black fur and predatory power. I felt a searing pain as its claws raked across my side, sending me sprawling to the ground. The shotgun skittered away, lost in the snow. I looked up, my vision blurring, my body screaming in agony. The black scary werewolf loomed over me, its massive head tilted, as if savoring the moment. Its growl was a low, guttural rumble that vibrated through the frozen earth. Its fangs, stained with the blood of my animals, seemed to gleam in the faint light. There was no escape. There was no hope. As its dark form descended, a wave of profound, agonizing terror washed over me, the chilling realization that this was the end, not just of me, but of everything I had ever known. The last thing I saw were those malevolent, glowing eyes, devoid of any semblance of humanity, filled only with the cold, ancient hunger of a true monster.